Hi, my name is Keely Withington, and I'm here to talk about how interactive grammar in special education is important and how interactive grammar will help the students in the future. When I say interactive, I mean using every possible method of explaining or exploring a topic. I'll also bring up how just being interactive is important in every student's classroom. Using interactive grammar is especially important in the special education programs because students in the special education classroom need a little extra help and they learn differently. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm excited to be a special education teacher to help students get where they need to be and accomplish topics that they wouldn't have thought they could do. Grammar in general is hard for students to learn. So when I'm in a classroom with students that have unique things about them, I want them to think that school is fun. Being interactive with others and myself should help the students in the long run. One of the hardest areas for most students in special education is writing and reading. Both of these areas are important to school and other subjects as well as in life. My thoughts about being a special education teacher is that being interactive with students, not just talking to them, will help improve their skills where they may be lacking. In a journal article that Rule wrote, she said, in working with both visual thinkers and dyslexic students, the authors discovered that many individuals struggling to express their ideas on paper could build modules of how ideas relate using pipe cleaners, Legos, or ticker toys. Or they could walk those ideas across a room, changing directions to indicate changes in logical structure. This is just some of the ways that she made classroom interactive for her students to think things through that they wanted to write about. Another educator named Miss McCurdy said during the initial stage of skill development, educators often use procedures such as description and demonstration to enhance accurate or correct responding. However, mastery of writing skills requires that students develop such skills to a point at which they are functional. She's saying that every teacher thinks it's okay to just lecture and then draw pictures for their students to listen and see. But what is really effective and beneficial to everybody is being interactive. Some of my ideas for being interactive is having partners in groups or having them go to stations around the room just for them to walk. Like just walking around a room can really open and keep someone awake. Using physical movement is an important part of being interactive. Being interactive with small topics that students don't think of as important or once using interactive methods for topics for the students have learned but need reinforcing, such as grammar, is crucial. Like I said earlier, reading and writing are hard for students in special education, so being interactive with a base or foundation topic like grammar is helpful for everyone, including the educator who's teaching. One thing about being interactive with students is there are multiple ways of teaching one thing or concept. One example is when writing or learning how to write sentences, the teacher can give the student certain things to do. Another example is that when guessing what grammatical structure goes where in a sentence, let's say I was teaching about where to put punctuation, such as a comma, in a sentence. I could give them a movement of doing a jumping jack every time the student thinks there should be a comma. All they would have to do is stand up and guess where to correctly put a comma by doing one jumping jack. If this method was taught in classrooms, not even for special education kids, there would be benefits to some students in their physical activity, their brain power, and their mood during the school day. A combined instructional model integrating elements of direct instruction and strategy instruction has been demonstrated as most beneficial for students with LD. Comprehension instructions for students with LD is therefore most effective when explicit and strategy based, with opportunities for teaching for teacher modeling, guided practice, and discussion of meaning construction. That was said by Dr. Holdenbeck. This quote is from a journal article, and he was saying that teaching uses a standard instructional way. That isn't bad, and it probably should not go away, but if you could combine it with interactive methods and communications, then you'd have students that would be hard to stop in their learning. It's very smart to use all the resources around you, and the best part is that being interactive and physical doesn't cost anything except some time to be creative in developing your lesson plans. If all teachers were to use interactive learning more in times like when teaching grammar, this study says that boys and girls would show up as equals in learning. Researchers have shown that young girls often outperform boys on measures of writing quality and quantity. This was said by Dr. Parker. With this study, I think that when you're a young boy who has so much energy, it seems cruel to just sit for 7.5 hours and then go outside and play for 30 minutes. If more schools and more teachers and more curriculum brought in interactive learning, then I feel like both girls and boys would do better with remembering information, and they would create higher standards for them to pass. Every person learns their own individual way, and some students just need to be more active or physical or visual. Going back to the journal article that Miss Rule wrote, she was helping a student write and edit her paper, but the student was having trouble thinking what she wanted to say to Miss Rule. Miss Rule said, "Finding myself out of ideas, my mind turned to some cognitive science research I had been reading recently. Research that forms the focus of this article," the journal article I was reading, "about how we embody and visualize language in order to make meaning." When I read this sentence, I remember one of my teachers told us, my class, to close my eyes and visualize what I was going to write about. We had to keep our eyes closed until we thought of something so vivid and clear that we got excited about writing it. She waited for about 15 minutes for us to do something. No one in the class could think of anything. I think that closing my eyes and visualizing that whole exercise is one way to be interactive. Unfortunately, without more help, it didn't work out for me at that time. Reading what Miss Rule said, I remember that and thinking to myself, why couldn't I think of anything creative to write about? Is it because when I was in school starting to learn about creative writing, we were given a topic and we had to write and create about something given to us, not something creative or interactive for us to work with? I believe that if I use interactive methods to teach grammar, even with just teaching how to write sentences or even with creative writing, students would be happier and more creative coming up with details when given a topic on a test. Also, this video was completely lecture. It got boring, didn't it? Imagine being a little kid just having so much energy to run and play. He just sat here and listened. There was no touching, no movement, nothing. This is another reason why we need to change how teachers teach in special education and in general education. Thank you. Bye.